The galaxy was old, and its empires even older. For countless ages, mighty alien civilizations ruled the stars. They had fleets that stretched across light years, armies that could crush worlds, and technology so advanced that even their scholars barely understood its origins. To them, the galaxy was safe and secure, mapped and measured. Every power knew its place. And humans? Humans were nothing. At least, that was what the empires believed. On the star maps of great rulers, Earth was marked as a backwater, a small blue world on the edge of nowhere. Its people were young, barely reaching the stars. Primitive, weak, a noisy species that fought among itself more than it explored the galaxy. The aliens laughed at the thought of humans becoming a threat. But then the silence began. It started small, almost unnoticed. A single mining outpost near the rim sent a distress signal. The transmission was short, broken, filled with static. Then nothing more was heard. The empire that owned the outpost assumed it was an accident, a failure in the machines, or perhaps a raid by local pirates. No one paid attention. Weeks later, another colony went dark. This one was larger, richer, better defended. When ships were sent to investigate, they found only ruins, blackened craters where cities had been, metal twisted by fire. There were no survivors, no attackers, only silence, heavy and unbroken. Whispers began to spread. Merchants in the trade lanes carried strange stories of ghost fleets moving in the dark, of warships painted with no empire's colors, of battles fought where the stars themselves seemed to vanish. At first, the great empires dismissed it all as rumors. The galaxy was full of lies, after all, yet the reports kept coming. And then an entire fleet disappeared. It had been sent to patrol the border, a dozen ships strong, enough to wipe out any pirate or rebel group. But not a single vessel returned. No wreckage, no beacons, no trace at all. The admirals of the empire grew uneasy. Fleets that large did not simply vanish. The whispers grew louder now, passing from planet to planet like fire in dry grass. Some said it was a new alien race, one born in darkness, feeding on the stars. Others spoke of ancient powers awakening from long sleep. And yet, in the intercepted messages, in the broken transmissions, one word began to appear again and again: humans. At first, the idea was laughable. How could humans, those fragile, clumsy creatures from Earth, be behind this? They had no great fleets, no mighty empire, no history of conquest beyond their own small world. But the evidence could not be ignored. On the edge of alien space, in places once thought safe, humans were appearing. And wherever they appeared, silence followed. In the hidden halls of power, alien leaders gathered. They argued, their voices echoing through vast chambers of glass and steel. Some dismissed the stories, calling them wild exaggerations. Others, more cautious, warned that something was changing. Humans are not like us, one elder said. We grow slowly. They grow fast. We guard what we have. They hunger for more. Still, most laughed. To them, humans were nothing more than animals with ships. They had no ancient bloodlines, no great tradition, no empire stretching across the stars. They were newcomers, children among giants. Surely, they could not threaten the galaxy. And yet, more signals came. More outposts went dark. A convoy of merchants vanished in open space. A fortress world, thought to be untouchable, fell silent after a single night of battle. Even the strongest warships, the ones that had crushed rebellion for centuries, were now destroyed by enemies no one had truly seen. Fear began to seep into the hearts of the mighty. The idea was impossible, absurd, unthinkable. But the evidence was clear. Humans were coming. They were not noble conquerors with banners and ceremonies. They were not bound by old traditions or ancient laws. They came like storms, unpredictable, sudden, and violent. They came not with fear, but with fury. And worst of all, they did not stop. Where other species bowed under pressure, humans grew stronger. Where others surrendered, humans fought harder. Every defeat made them sharper. Every loss turned into a lesson. They were not the strongest, nor the fastest, nor the most advanced. But they were relentless. And the galaxy was beginning to learn what relentless truly meant. Across the stars, in the palaces of emperors and the thrones of kings, in the councils of generals and the quiet meetings of merchants, One thought began to rise like a shadow. If the whispers were true, if humans were behind the silence, then the galaxy itself was in danger. Because if humans were coming, nothing would ever be the same again. Far above the shining core of the galaxy, a great citadel floated in the endless night. It was older than many empires, built from metals mined in forgotten suns, and its towers stretched like spears into the void. This was the place where rulers gathered when the galaxy trembled. And now, it trembled again. Inside the grand chamber, the alien council met. The chamber was a vast circle, lit by glowing crystals and star maps that hovered in the air. Around the circle sat the leaders of the most powerful civilizations, beings of every shape and size, each draped in the symbols of their people. Some looked calm, others restless, but all had heard the same whispers. Silence hung heavy, until the high speaker, a tall insectoid creature with golden plates for skin, struck the ground with his staff. "The rumors spread like fire," he said, his voice clicking like metal. "Worlds vanish. Fleets fall. Traders speak of a shadow rising from the rim. And the name they whisper," his glowing eyes swept across the chamber, "is human." A low murmur rippled through the council. "Impossible," growled the representative of the Core Dominion, a massive reptilian with scales like steel. "Humans are weak. Their ships are fragile. They have no fleets worth naming. We should not waste time with ghost stories." A slender figure of living crystal leaned forward. Her voice rang like chimes. "And yet, your Dominion lost 3 colonies in the past month. Who, then, do you blame? Shadows? Pirates?" The reptile slammed his claw against the table. "We blame lies and cowardice. No human could bring down a cold warship." From the far side of the chamber, a cold laugh echoed. It came from the Ural, a species of tall, pale beings with faces hidden by masks of bone. "Perhaps not one human," the masked leader said softly. "But what of many? I have studied their history. These creatures breed fast, fight harder, and learn faster than any species I have ever seen. They adapt. That is their weapon." The council chamber stirred uneasily. "Enough," thundered the high speaker. "We speak of shadows when we need truth. Are these humans truly behind the silence? Or do we waste our time chasing children's tales?" A smaller delegate, representing a race of scholars with soft fur and bright eyes, spoke timidly. "Honored Council, my people intercepted signals near the rim. The voices were broken, filled with static, but one word repeated clearly: Earth. It was an origin world. I believe the humans are not only behind this, they are advancing." The chamber erupted into chaos. Voices clashed, threats hissed, claws struck the table, crystal voices cut the air. Some called for war, some demanded peace. Some laughed at the idea of fearing humans, while others trembled at the thought. The high speaker struck his staff again. The chamber fell silent, though tension still burned. "Very well," he said. "We will decide. Let us test these humans. We will not send our full strength, for that would be wasteful. But a fleet, strong enough to burn a dozen systems, will march to the rim. If humans are there, they will be crushed. If not, the whispers will die." The reptilian representative bared his teeth in triumph. "At last, action. The core will lead the fleet." But the masked Ural leader leaned forward, his hollow voice echoing. "Be careful, Lizard. Do not mistake pride for power. If the humans are what I believe, your fleet may not return." The reptile hissed, but said nothing. The council voted, their symbols glowing one by one. And so the decision was made. A fleet of many species, united under the command of the Core Dominion, would march to the rim. It was to be a show of strength, a lesson to the galaxy. No one challenged the old empires and lived. The leaders left the chamber, some proud, some doubtful, all carrying the weight of fear unspoken. When the chamber was empty, the high speaker stood alone, gazing at the star map that floated before him. Slowly, he raised a claw and touched the small blue mark that was Earth. "So small," he whispered. "So fragile. And yet, why does it feel like a storm is coming?" Far away, at the edge of known space, the human fleets prepared. Their ships were not beautiful. They were not ancient. But they were fast, clever, and deadly. And above all, they carried crews with fire in their hearts. The Council had chosen to test humanity. Soon, the galaxy would see if the test could be passed. The fleet moved like a storm through the stars. Dozens of alien warships, forged from the might of half a dozen empires, sailed toward the rim. Their hulls gleamed with power, engines burning bright against the black. At their center flew the flagship of the core Dominion, a dreadnought so massive it could block out the sun of a small planet. The fleet commander sat upon its bridge, smug and certain. "This will be quick," the reptilian growled. "We strike, we burn, we return. The Council will see humans are nothing but dust." For days they traveled, their ships slicing through the void. Then, at the edge of an uncharted system, they found it a human colony. Small, fragile, a cluster of habitats built on a rocky moon orbiting a dim red star. By galactic standards, it was barely a village. The aliens expected to find fear. Instead, they found silence. No surrender signal. No pleas for mercy. Only quiet. The fleet commander ordered the attack. Alien cannons lit the dark, sending lances of fire toward the human outpost. Explosions tore across the moon's surface, tearing habitats apart. The dreadnought's crew roared in triumph. Easy victory, just as they expected. But then, from the shadow of the moon, the humans struck. 3 small ships appeared, old freighters turned into war machines. Their hulls were scarred, their weapons stolen or built from scraps. Compared to the alien dreadnought, they looked like insects, but they moved with speed and fury that shocked the alien fleet. One freighter dove straight through the enemy formation, spitting missiles in every direction. Another used the moon's gravity to slingshot itself into the dreadnought's flank. The third dropped mines into the path of alien cruisers, forcing them to scatter like startled prey. The reptilian commander snarled. "Pathetic. Crush them." Alien warships turned their guns on the humans, but the small ships darted and twisted, outmaneuvering fire that should have destroyed them. Every time the aliens thought they had their prey, the humans struck from a new angle. And then the first shock came. One of the human ships, its hull burning, rammed straight into a core battleship. The explosion lit the void, tearing the massive vessel in half. The humans had given their lives, but they had destroyed a ship that should have been untouchable. Gasps filled the alien bridges. No species did this. No species threw themselves into fire so willingly. Yet the humans had, and in doing so, they had won. The battle grew wild. Alien cruisers fired in every direction, chasing human shadows. But with every minute, more human ships appeared. A swarm of small, fast corvettes jumped into the system, weapons blazing. Their designs were crude, many still bearing markings from alien ships they had stolen. But they were deadly. The humans fought not as an empire, but as survivors. Every ship carried crews who refused to yield. Every maneuver was desperate, reckless, and brilliant. The dreadnought commander's confidence began to crack. "They should be running," he hissed. "Why are they not running?" Because humans did not run. Hours passed, and the great alien fleet began to bleed. Cruisers shattered. Frigates vanished in fire. Even the mighty dreadnought suffered, its shields failing, its armor scarred. The commander ordered retreat, but the humans did not allow it. They hounded the fleeing ships, striking again and again, until the void was filled with burning wreckage. When the battle finally ended, silence returned to the stars. Of the fleet that had left the Council so proudly, only a handful of ships crawled back toward the core. The rest lay broken, drifting, or turned to dust. And the humans? Their losses were heavy, but their victory was greater. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. Entire empires froze in disbelief. A Council fleet, armed with the best technology, the finest ships, the strongest warriors, had been destroyed by humans, by the species everyone had called weak. Fear turned into terror. On trading worlds, whispers became screams. In palaces, rulers demanded answers. And in the dark, hidden corners of the galaxy, a single truth took root. The humans had risen. The Ural leader, the one who had warned the Council, spoke before his people with grim certainty. They did not win because they were stronger, he said. They won because they refused to lose. They are not prey. They are predators. And the galaxy has just met them for the first time. In the silence of space, Wreckage drifted among the stars, glowing faintly like dying embers. But those embers carried a warning. The first contact war had begun, and humanity was only getting started. The galaxy wanted answers. How could humans, fragile newcomers with no great fleets, no ancient bloodlines, defeat a force that had crushed rebellion for centuries? The Council had sent ships stronger than mountains, with weapons that could vaporize cities, and yet they had fallen to a swarm of scavenger craft. The Empire searched for explanations. Some blamed luck. Others claimed the aliens in the fleet had been careless. A few whispered of sabotage or traitors. But those who studied the battle recordings saw something different, something far more frightening. The humans learned. Every maneuver in that fight, every strange tactic, every sudden strike, they were not random. The humans had been watching, adapting, improving with every heartbeat. Their ships, though crude, changed strategies faster than any admiral had ever seen. Where other species clung to old methods, humans bent the rules. They took what should have been weakness, slow ships, outdated weapons, and turned them into surprise advantages. They used the moon's gravity to hurl their ships like stones from a sling. They turned freighters into torpedoes. They fought as though every second mattered, as though every loss was fuel for the next victory. And when the battle was over, they did not stop. Within weeks, alien scouts reported something unthinkable. The humans had already salvaged the wreckage of the Council fleet. They were pulling apart advanced warships, studying engines, weapons, shields. They were not only fighting, they were stealing knowledge. One Empire's ambassador brought the Council a trembling report. We watched them dismantle a cruiser. In days, they had copied its shield generators. They had no manuals, no guidance. They simply looked, tested, built what took us centuries. They understand in weeks. The chamber grew silent. No one could deny it now. Humanity's strength was not in numbers, not in firepower, not in technology. It was in their minds. They adapted, faster than anyone else. A reptilian general spat in anger. So they are thieves. Nothing more. But the masked Ural leader shook his head. His hollow voice carried through the chamber. No, they are evolution itself. Where we build walls, they build doors. Where we see limits, they see opportunity. That is why they are dangerous. They do not stop at defeat. They turn defeat into a weapon. The Council argued for hours, but deep down, each leader felt the same chill. For millions of years, the galaxy had been stable. Empires rose slowly, lived long, and changed little. But now, a new species had arrived that refused to follow the pattern. They were reckless, they were fast, and they were hungry. Meanwhile, at the edge of known space, the humans worked. Every wreck became a lesson. Every captured weapon became a blueprint. Engineers on Earth and its colonies labored without rest, welding alien steel with human fire. Old human ships grew new armor, new weapons, new engines, patched together but stronger each time. The alien dreadnought's cannons, once symbols of invincibility, now sat on human destroyers. Shield systems stolen from cruisers protected fragile freighters. Even the strange alloys of alien hulls were melted down and reforged into tools for war. And at the heart of it all was a human spirit. They remembered Earth's long struggle, centuries of war, hardship, and survival. They had lived through famine, plague, disaster, and endless conflict. Pain was not new to them. Loss was not new to them. Where other species broke under such weight, humanity had been forged by it. Every human pilot who died was honored. Every ship lost was studied. Every mistake became a lesson burned into the minds of those who remained. The aliens began to realize the true terror. They were fighting a species that improved by losing. No defeat was final. No setback was the end. With each clash, the humans became stronger. And the more the empires fought them, the more unstoppable they became. On distant worlds, alien soldiers whispered to one another. They had seen the recordings. They had watched humans turn desperation into victory. And some began to fear not just human weapons, but the humans themselves. They do not yield, one alien soldier muttered. They do not fear death. They change. Like fire. You cannot grasp fire. You can only burn. The Empire sent spies into human space, hoping to learn more. Few returned. Those who did spoke of factories running night and day, of training grounds filled with volunteers, of entire populations willing to sacrifice for survival. What the galaxy saw as madness, humans called determination. And so, the secret spread. The humans were not powerful because they were born strong. They were powerful because they refused to remain weak. The galaxy had met many warriors, many conquerors, many empires. But never before had it met a species that turned every wound into armor, every battle into a lesson, every loss into fuel. The empires began to wonder, if this was what humanity looked like in its first war, what would it become after 100? The answer would soon come. The battlefield was no longer the only place where humans fought. Now, they lived in whispers, in the marketplaces of alien worlds, in the shadowed halls of rulers, in the barracks of frightened soldiers. The word human carried weight heavier than steel. The defeat of the Council fleet should have been forgotten as one unlucky battle. Empires had lost before. Fleets had been broken. But this was different. The stories refused to die. A merchant arriving at a trade station spoke of seeing human ships built from the bones of alien cruisers. A soldier claimed his unit had abandoned their post after hearing the screams of comrades caught by human boarding parties. A governor swore he had seen recordings of humans fighting even after being boned, crawling forward until they dragged enemies down with their last breath. No one knew how much was true. It did not matter. Fear had taken root. In the taverns of distant colonies, smugglers whispered, "The humans don't surrender." On transport ships, traders muttered, "They steal your weapons and use them against you." On quiet nights, even children whispered, "If you hear silence in the stars, it means the humans are near." The fear spread faster than fleets could travel. On one planet of the Car Dominion, riots broke out when rumors spread that humans were approaching. Civilians stormed government buildings, demanding evacuation. The military, furious, insisted the rumors were false, but when asked for proof, they had none. The crowd shouted back with a single voice, "You lied about the First Fleet. You will lie again." Entire mining colonies stopped sending resources to the front. Workers refused to load cargo ships, saying, "Why feed an empire that cannot even defend us?" The fear of humans was doing what no enemy had done in centuries, breaking the trust between rulers and their people. In the armies, discipline began to crack. Soldiers whispered at night, speaking of humans with trembling voices. They remembered the battle recordings, grainy but clear enough to show the truth. Human ships ramming giants. Human soldiers charging through fire. Human voices screaming war cries in languages no alien understood, yet every alien feared. One veteran told his commander, "I would rather face 10 other wars than one human." His commander struck him down for cowardice, but in the silence that followed, the rest of the unit avoided the commander's eyes. The words had already sunk into their hearts. The galaxy had many great weapons, planet killers, suns that could be snuffed out, fleets that could darken skies. But now, humanity had unleashed a weapon more dangerous than any cannon, terror. And terror spreads without ships, without armies, without borders. Even rulers began to tremble. The High Speaker, who once mocked the thought of fearing humans, found his council hall half empty. Representatives failed to arrive, their fleets busy protecting their own borders. Allies turned inward, guarding their own worlds. The unity of the Great Council was cracking, all because of whispers of a rising predator. The Ural leader, masked as always, warned the chamber. "This is only the beginning. You fear their ships. You fear their weapons. But what you should fear is this. Every story you tell, every rumor you spread, makes them stronger. You make them legends. You give them power." But still, the rumors grew. Some claimed humans could breathe toxic air and drink poison. Others said humans had no fear of the void, that they could fight without armor in space. Still others whispered that death itself could not stop them, that if you killed a human, 10 more would rise from the ashes. Nonsense, of course. Lies. Yet soldiers believed. Civilians believed. And belief mattered more than truth. On the edge of alien space, the humans watched all of this unfold. They knew the fear was spreading, though perhaps not how deeply. Their victories were small compared to the size of the galaxy. But in the minds of their enemies, those victories had become colossal. Humanity was no longer just a species. Humanity was a storm. The galaxy's rulers gathered again, desperate to hold control. They spoke of crushing the humans quickly, of uniting their strength before it was too late. But even as they spoke, each ruler doubted the others. Would their allies fight, or would they retreat when the humans arrived? Could they even trust their own soldiers to hold the line? The war was no longer only about weapons. It was about fear. And in that war, humanity had already won the first great victory.